Hello again and welcome. Welcome to a new class, class 196. So, we are approaching, hagamos la contracción. We're approaching class number 200. Celebration? Well, not yet. Maybe, if I remember, we'll celebrate class 200. If I forget, no. So you need to remind me. Me tienes que recordar. Necesito recordarme. You need to remind me on class 199 that, hey, Richard, tomorrow is class 200. Let's celebrate. Celebrate, celebrate. Dance to the music. Okay, superlatives. Esto es una clase superlativa, que sí. However, in English, superlative is part of the comparative. Comparative being 2, superlative 3 or more. 3 or more. This pencil, in my opinion, this pencil is more attractive than this one. However, and in fact, of the 3 pencils, in my opinion, the yellow one is the most attractive. Now, of the 3 pencils, well, of the 2 pencils, in my opinion, the pink pencil is less attractive than the yellow one. The pink one is less attractive than the yellow one. And in fact, with 3 pencils, I still think the pink pencil is the least attractive. The yellow one is the most attractive, and the pink one is the least. The most, the least. Yes. What's the most attractive city in Spain? Impossible to say. Maybe Seville is the most attractive. Maybe Barcelona is the most attractive. Maybe Madrid is the most attractive city. Maybe Valencia or San Sebastian is the most attractive. Maybe Granada, yes, is the most. What's the least attractive? I don't know. Well, of provincial capitals, capitales de provincia, provincial capitals. What's the least attractive provincial capital in Spain? I don't know. Maybe Ciudad Real? Maybe Guadalajara? Maybe, I don't know, least attractive? All the cities are attractive. And in your opinion, of these 3 pencils, which one is the most attractive? You say the pink one. All right. Which one is the least attractive? The yellow one. So our opinions are very different. We don't agree. We don't agree on the attractiveness of these pencils. In my opinion, this one is the most attractive, and this one is the least. This one is the most, and this one is the least. But in your opinion, it's the opposite. The pink one is the most attractive, and the yellow one is the least attractive. Okay, well, we agree to disagree. Is that right? Estamos de acuerdo en no estar de acuerdo, right? En español se usa el verbo estar de acuerdo. En inglés decimos concordar. Más o menos. To agree. We agree to disagree. All right, so the tallest building in the world is in Dubai. It's taller than all the rest. The shortest building in the world, I don't know. 1 story, the shortest. What's the shortest important river in Spain? The shortest important river in Spain is the Miño. And what's the longest river in the Iberian Peninsula? The longest river in the Iberian Peninsula is the Tagus. All right. And what's the longest river in Spain? The longest river in Spain is the Ebro. What's the biggest province in Spain in area? The biggest province in Spain in area is Badajoz. What's the smallest province in Spain in area? The smallest province is Guipúzcoa. What's the richest province? I don't know. Maybe Madrid, maybe Barcelona is the richest. Maybe Mallorca, Baleares is the richest. Or maybe Vizcaya or Guipúzcoa are the richest. Maybe Navarre is the richest. I don't know. What's the poorest province in Spain? I think Cádiz is the poorest province in Spain. What's the second poorest province in Spain? I think Jaén is the second poorest province in Spain. What's the most important province in Spain for wine? Good question. Well, Rioja, La Rioja, or Valladolid. Well, La Rioja is a region, it's not a province. But La Rioja and Valladolid are the two most important areas in Spain for wine. What's the most important area of Spain for olive oil? The most important area in Spain, or the most important province, is Jaén. What's the most important province for shoes? Shoes, zapatos, calzado. Now I don't know. Traditionally, Alicante is the most important province in Spain for shoes. What's the biggest state in the United States? In area, Alaska is the biggest. What's the smallest? Rhode Island is the smallest. What's the biggest in population? California is the biggest in population. What's the smallest in population? The smallest state, Wyoming, is the smallest. What's the biggest province in Spain in population? The biggest is the province of Madrid, the Comunidad Autónoma de Madrid. That's the biggest in province in population. What's the biggest region in population? Andalucía is the biggest region. What's the second biggest region? Cuando digo región, quiero decir comunidad autónoma. Porque en inglés, si dices autonomous community, despista a un angloparlante. Porque community puede comunidad de propietarios o la comunidad económica europea. So community is a very general word. If you say autonomous community in English, maybe people will not understand. But you say región, yes. Region, yes. Catalonia is the second biggest region in population. And the third biggest is Madrid. What's the smallest province in Madrid in population? The smallest province in population is Soria. What's the second smallest? In population. Yes, in population. Perdone que insista, pero llevo toda la vida, con muy pocas excepciones, escuchando pu. It's pew, population. The second smallest province in Spain in population is Teruel. What's the most beautiful province in Spain? I don't know. Every province. The most beautiful? I don't know. Maybe Guipúzcoa. Maybe Seville. Maybe Granada. Maybe Segovia. Maybe Castellón. All of them are beautiful, very interesting. What's the most interesting village? The most interesting village in Spain? I don't know. There are many. Trujillo is a very interesting village. Albarracín is a very interesting village. Perhaps Sos del Rey Católico is the most interesting. Perhaps Santillana del Mar is the most interesting. Perhaps La Alberca in Salamanca is the most interesting village, small village in Spain. Maybe Arcos de la Frontera is the most interesting village. There are many villages that are maybe Peñíscola. Peñíscola is the most interesting village in Spain. I don't know. What's the most difficult language in the world? The language you're trying to learn is the most difficult in the world, but probably Chinese. Maybe German, maybe Russian, maybe Japanese. The most difficult. What's the easiest language in the world? In my opinion, this is interesting, but in my opinion, Spanish and English are the two easiest languages in the world. Maybe Italian, but French, I think, is more difficult than Spanish and English. To speak French well, etc. What's the hardest object in this room? The hardest object in this room? The table. The table is the hardest object in this room, right, Marta? Yeah, maybe Marta is the hardest object in this room. No, the table. What's the second hardest? The second hardest, I think my head is the second hardest object in this room. What's the softest object in this room? Maybe Marta's the softest object in this room. Yeah. And I'm the second softest, right? I'm the second softest, except for my head. What's the smallest? Well, no, vamos con más. What's of the three books, which one is the thickest? The translation booklet is the thickest. Yes. No. Surely the student's manual is thicker than this. No, this book is the thickest. Look. Close the books, page 205. Look at them. Which one is thicker? This one or this one? This one is thicker. And this one is even thinner. So this book is the thickest of the three. It's the thickest of the three. And this book, the vocabulary booklet, is the thinnest of the three. It's the thinnest. Page 205, right? All right. The youngest. Who's the youngest person in this room? Well, there are only two people in this room. So Marta is younger than me. But Richard, is Marta the youngest person in your company? No, she's not the youngest person in the company. Who's the youngest person in your company? We have a teacher who is 20 years old, and she's very, very good. She's very strong, yes. She's from Bulgaria, but her English is perfect. Perfect like me. She speaks English like me. And she's tough. Tough means hecha de materia prima dura. She's very good. And so she's only 20. So I think she's the youngest person in this company. What's the fastest car in the world? Well, the fastest car in the world maybe is a Ferrari. Maybe it's the McLaren. Well, the fastest car in the world are the cars that in Nevada for the high speed. But a normal car, the fastest car in the world is a Ferrari, I think. A Ferrari. What's the slowest car in the world? I don't know. I don't know. There aren't any cars that are perhaps the slowest. The fastest, the slowest. Richard, are you taller than the tallest tree in the world? No, I'm not taller than the tallest tree in the world. Are you shorter than the shortest tree in the world? No, I'm not shorter than the shortest tree in the world. Are you more intelligent than the most intelligent man in the world? No, I'm not more intelligent than the most intelligent man in the world or woman in the world. Is the yellow pencil cheaper than the purple one? No, this one's not cheaper. Of the three pencils, which one is the cheapest? Bueno, como he dicho muchas veces, me suena mejor. Of the three pencils, which one is the least expensive? Because remember, cheap sometimes has a connotation of poor quality. But of these three pencils, which one is the least expensive? None of them. All of them are the same price. All of them cost the same. So this one isn't the least expensive, this one isn't the least expensive, and this one isn't the least expensive or the cheapest either, nor the most expensive. They cost the same. All right, cheap, expensive, new. Yes. Is this the newest class? Yes. This class right now is the newest class, class 196. Yesterday was class number 195. Already, it's agua pasada, right? It's older than this class. So this is the newest class. Richard, yeah. Are you the oldest person in your company? I think I'm the second oldest person. There's one teacher older than I am. Really? Yeah. The teacher started in 1987. He's from Sweden. My God, English teacher from Bulgaria, from Sweden? Yes, he's from Sweden. But his father was a Swedish diplomat. and the teacher grew up in England, Jamaica, and different places, always in British schools. He speaks English better than Swedish. And I think he's older than I am. Maybe 1 year. So maybe I'm not the oldest in the company, but maybe I am the oldest. But Richard, are you the oldest teacher, English teacher on television? Yes, I'm sure. I'm the oldest teacher on television. Are you older or younger than Julius Caesar? I'm a little younger, excuse me. I'm a little younger. The youngest, the thickest, the thinnest, the most complicated. Yes, Richard, what's the most complicated unit in this book? The most complicated unit in this book? Well, complicated, no, but the most important unit is Unit 1. The second most important unit is Unit 2. The third most important unit is Unit 3, etc. Why? Because the basic elements are the most important. The basic elements are the most critical for good communication, powerful communication. The basic elements are the most critical. Perhaps, maybe they're not the most difficult, but they're definitely the most critical. Now, the most difficult are the phrasal verbs, and in my opinion, auxiliary verbs, dynamic control of auxiliary verbs. The oldest. What planet is the farthest from the sun? Page 206. According to the astronomers, Neptune is the farthest from the sun. But in my opinion, no. The farthest planet from the sun is Pluto. But Richard, Pluto isn't a planet anymore. For me, yes, Pluto is still a planet. Yes. But Richard, you know that the experts exclude Pluto from the solar system as a planet. I know, but the experts are wrong. My primary school teachers taught me that Pluto was a planet, and I believe everything my primary school teachers told me. Yes, it has to be true. So Pluto is the smallest planet, it's the coldest planet, and it's the farthest planet from the sun. Mercury is the second smallest planet, and it's the closest to the sun. However, it's not the hottest planet. According to the experts, according to astronomers, Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system. And what's the biggest planet in the solar system? The biggest planet is Jupiter. What's the second biggest planet in the solar system? The second biggest planet is Saturn. What's the second smallest planet? I told you. I already told you. Well, I don't remember. Mercury, if we include Pluto as a planet, then Mercury is the second smallest planet. If we don't include Pluto, then of course, Mercury is the smallest. And what's the third smallest planet in the solar system? The third smallest is Mars. Does Mars come before or after the Earth? Excuse me? Does Mars come? Does Mars come before the Earth or after the Earth? In terms of what? Oh, in terms of distance from the sun. Mars comes after the Earth. How many planets come before the Earth? In terms of what? In terms of distance from the sun. 2 planets come before the Earth, Mercury and Venus. They say, se dicen por ahí, they say that Venus is the hottest planet. even though it's farther from the sun than Mercury. Mercury, according to the experts, isn't the hottest planet in the solar system, sino Venus, but Venus. All right, so what's the most beautiful city in the United States? City, big city, the most beautiful. It's not a question of beauty. It's a question of interesting. New York City is the most interesting city in the United States. Beautiful? Dallas, Texas is very beautiful. San Antonio, Texas is very beautiful. But cities in the United States are not famous for being beautiful. San Francisco is beautiful. They're interesting, attractive cities. What's the most interesting novel in Spanish literature? The most interesting novel in Spanish literature. La novela más interesante. Maybe La Regenta by Clarín is the most interesting. Maybe Fortunata and Jacinta by Galdós. Maybe Don Quixote de la Mancha by Mr. Cervantes. Probably is the most interesting. But in my opinion, Cárcel de Amor by Diego de San Pedro. You don't know that? That's the most interesting novel. No, the most interesting novel is probably La Celestina. But excuse me, Richard, that's not a novel. It's a play. Okay, es una obra de teatro. Yes, fine. But I read it as a novel usually. And another very interesting novel, of course, is La Feria de Tormes. Who was the author? Mr. Anonymous. Nobody knows. All right. And what was the most interesting novel in the English language? The most interesting novel in the English language, there are many. Maybe Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Orgullo y Prejuicio, no? Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Maybe Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. What's the most interesting novel for you, Richard, in Russian literature? Oh, that's easy. That's easy. In Russian literature, the most interesting novel for me is The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. What's the most interesting novel for you in German literature? German literature. There's one, Dr. Faustus by Thomas Mann. It's not considered his best novel, but for me, it's the best. It's the best. All right. I have read all his novels, and I prefer Dr. Faustus. Yes, it's the most interesting. The experts, according to the experts, his best novel is The Magic Mountain. And I agree, The Magic Mountain is a brilliant novel. But personally, Dr. Faustus is the best. The best, the worst. And what's the worst? Of the four novels, Buddenbrooks, Death in Venice, The Magic Mountain, and Dr. Faustus. Which one is the worst? Well, for me, Death in Venice is the worst. It's very artistic. Well, worst. It's the least good. It's the least brilliant. All of them are excellent. But for me, my own personal sensitivity and taste, Death in Venice is the least interesting of the four, the least powerful of the four. But it's very good, eh? I recommend you read it. Who's the most popular English teacher in Spain? I don't know, but I'm the most visual English teacher in Spain, the most popular. Maybe Alberto Alonso is the most popular English teacher in Spain. Oh, what's the poorest state in the United States? That's interesting. The poorest state in the United States is Mississippi. And what's the richest state? The richest state is California. What's the richest country in the Far East? Well, per capita, the richest country in the Far East is Japan? I think it's Japan. Maybe South Korea, maybe Taiwan, maybe Singapore. I think Singapore is the richest, but Singapore is a city-state. Country, Japan, in my opinion. But in terms of GDP, China's the richest. What's the most fascinating country in the Far East? I don't know. I only know China personally. Maybe Japan. Maybe Korea, South Korea. Maybe Vietnam. Maybe Burma, Myanmar. Maybe Thailand is the most fascinating. Maybe Indonesia. I don't know what's the most fascinating. But I'm running out of time. The most interesting, what's the driest place in the world? The driest? Well, maybe I'll tell you tomorrow, or maybe now. Antarctica is the driest. See you tomorrow.